Breaking news tonight, a traffic nightmare turns into a political controversy, possibly threatening New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. It started back in September when traffic came to a screeching halt along one of the most heavily traveled routes in the country. For 4 days, lanes at the George Washington Bridge from Fort Lee, New Jersey, were closed, leaving commuters stuck for hours. People were outraged. They were told it was all part of a traffic study. But now evidence is coming to light that it was part of a political payback scheme against the Fort Lee, New Jersey mayor, who is a Democrat and refused to endorse the Republican governor, Chris Christie, for re-election last November. Today, the New York Times reporting that emails show a Christie top staffer suggesting closures to the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey just weeks before the incident, writing, quote, this is the Christie staffer, time for some traffic problems in Fort Lee. And the official at the Port Authority replied, got it. Later, the Fort Lee mayor texted the governor's top appointee at the Port Authority asking for help, saying, presently we have 4 very busy traffic lanes merging into only 1 toll booth, and the bigger problem is getting kids to school. Help, please. It's maddening. To which the folks who were involved in the first exchange, which seemed to launch the traffic jam, texted each other, quote, is it wrong that I am smiling? No. And then, I feel badly about the kids. Response, they are the children of Bono voters, referring to Mr. Christie's Democratic opponent for governor. Well, tonight, Governor Christie has responded, saying, quote, keep in mind, he denied he had anything to do with this when this first broke. But what he said tonight is that, quote, what I have seen today for the first time is unacceptable. I'm outraged and deeply saddened to learn that not only was I misled by a member of my staff, but this completely inappropriate and unsanctioned conduct was made without my knowledge. One thing is clear. This type of behavior is unacceptable, and I will not tolerate it because the people of New Jersey deserve better. This behavior is not representative of me or my administration in any way, and people will be held responsible for their actions. Joining me now, Guy Benson, Town Hall political editor and Fox News contributor, and Bernard Whitman, who's a Democratic pollster and president of Whitman Insight Strategies. This has been all over the internet, other networks, everywhere tonight. And many on the right are saying it's being used by people who don't like Republicans to try to bring down the top Republican likely presidential candidate. So that's the background. But the question for you, Bernard, is, are they doing that justifiably? I mean, how big is this story or scandal, depending on your point of view?
I mean, it's completely outrageous. It's like something out of The Sopranos. If Tony Soprano were governor of New Jersey, this is exactly the sort of thing he would do to try to exact retribution on a Democrat who refused to endorse a Republican for re-election, closing lanes to the busiest bridge in the entire world, causing children to be late for school on their first day of school, interfering with emergency traffic. I mean, it is completely outrageous. It's disgusting. And the problem with it is it speaks to the character of Chris Christie. Chris Christie has been known to be a bully, and this really shows, in fact, that he is a bully.
But what is the evidence linking, before I get to Guy, what is the evidence linking Governor Christie to the actions of his staffers?
He created a culture in which it was acceptable for his deputy chief of staff and his direct political appointee to exact political retribution by shutting down traffic on the busiest bridge in the entire world.
If it was so acceptable, then why did they lie to him, as he seems to be claiming, about whether they did it?
Well, look, who knows what's going to ultimately come out. But if you have an administration where it seems okay for the deputy chief of staff and the political appointee to the Port Authority to conspire to shut down traffic in payback for a Democrat not endorsing you, that's pretty disgusting.
Bernard, they're talking about, you know, a 92-year-old woman who was having a heart attack, who didn't get the ambulance in time. I mean, they're going to try to, you know, talk about this as real life and death consequences for actual people. And you know, the evidence isn't there so far putting this on Governor Christie. But, Guy, if they get it, what does it mean for him? And what do you make of the allegations as we know them thus far?
Well, let's start off on a point of agreement. I'll say with Bernard, this is outrageous. This is unacceptable. This appears to be, as we see more and more evidence, a case of abuse of power in furtherance of a political, vindictive vendetta. That is not something that Governor Christie or anyone in New Jersey should stand for. So I think we're in agreement on that point. Now, the governor has, I think, been a bit cavalier in his attitude about this scandal as it started to brew over the last few weeks. Now I think he's been shell-shocked a bit by how far this goes up within his own administration.
Got the emails.
And
I mean, the emails are proof.
That's exactly right. And so he is now releasing the statement that you read. I think that's a very strong statement. He said exactly the right thing. He promised that people would be held accountable, which I think is an important element of this. And crucially, Megyn, he has now set up an unequivocal standard for himself, saying he did not approve this, and of course he didn't even know about it. That's the standard he's now put out there. If that's not true, then he's in trouble.
Let me ask you this, because when you talk politics, Christie is the only guy who's coming close to and is in fact beating Hillary Clinton in the potential matchups, according to a CNN poll. He's ahead of her by 2 points. And so, you know, as a political matter, the Democrats are going to smell blood in the water here if they can tie him directly to this. Already we're hearing debates about, well, Hillary Clinton was a major player with respect to Benghazi. And the question about what she knew and what she didn't know and why we have a dead ambassador and 3 others under her watch as well.
We fully investigated Benghazi, and I think that we have put that issue to rest, despite the fact on the far right you think that there's some sort of a smoking gun and a cover-up, and there is not. Facts are facts are facts, and if these individuals that are the political appointees of Christie have any loyalty to him whatsoever, they ought to resign. The governor should ask for his resignation.
One person's already gone,
immediately.
But the question is, will this other woman also go? There's going to be a hearing on this tomorrow. Quickly, Guy, one final thought. The governor claims he didn't know. The president has claimed he didn't know about a lot of scandals he's been plagued by.
That's absolutely true. I think there's been a pattern of behavior with President Obama, finding out about things happening within his administration in the newspapers. This is the first major example where Christie is using that excuse or that rationalization. And it'll be very interesting to see how he plays it, how he reacts to the first significant scandal.
Got to go, guys.